A massive depression is only getting bigger here in Pasco County, increasing so rapidly in size that it has now forced the closure of a sports bar nearby. We're live here from Eagle 8 HD on WFLA Now. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now with Amanda Holly here, meteorologist here at WFLA News Channel 8, to talk all things depression related here, because this is a story now that we've been following over the last 72 hours. And every time that we come back to this depression, it is getting larger and larger and having a larger and larger impact here on this area. Let me make sure that I have the address here exactly correct. Spring Haven Boulevard in Pasco County, not too far away, really the Seven Springs area of Pasco County. Let's go here full screen and just kind of show you how large this is. Meteorologist Amanda Holly here joining us. And Amanda, this Eagle is able to show us just how big this has gotten, but the numbers themselves pretty jaw-dropping.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think about too, because we're seeing it from above, but we can't see exactly how deep it goes, which is also scary because it continues to grow wider, but it also continues to grow deeper, which is, something to think about. The first question I had was, were these close to the depressions that we were talking about last year in Polk County? And we looked it up, and they are not in the vicinity, but this is an area that is kind of prone to those sinkholes and those depressions. We talked about this last year as well. It's Florida in general is built on, it's a karst landscape, so it's not very stable. And sometimes we get these depressions that open up, and later they may or may not be classified as sinkholes. But scary to see the visuals here from Eagle 8 HD, JB.
Yeah, really. We're talking about in size here, folks. We're talking about 25, 30 or so feet in diameter. And if I'm reading this right here, the information that we have here from officials on the ground, as many as 40 feet deep, Amanda. I mean, can we all just kind of think about a basketball hoop? A basketball hoop that's always what I go to for comparison, right? 10 feet high is your average basketball rim. That's 4 times that height here, at least, and might be getting larger here by the hour. As many as 50 feet potentially has been reported as the depth to this hole here. It's just significantly large and only getting bigger each and every time that we come back out here to the scene.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting closer to that building there, has toppled some trees in the vicinity. It looks like there might be a pipe, a water line or something going across it that hasn't yet ruptured. But, a lot of folks probably don't want to get near this because, it seems to be somewhat slow growing, but it could, of course, change. We've seen a lot of changes over the past couple of days. So looks like they have some markings on the road to kind of, maybe that's where they've done some ground penetrating radar, not sure. But looks like there's some markings there in the grass to the right of this hole. Not sure if those are markings, if they are noticing something under the ground, or maybe there's some more pipelines.
You'll see here too that there's some fencing. Some fencing here for the property that has collapsed.
The property line.
Yeah, that has collapsed into the depression itself. That just goes to show how much this is evolving now over the last several days. That fencing was somewhat intact a couple of days ago and now has completely collapsed into the depression here, into this hole here, this hole that is just getting so much larger by the hour here in Pasco County. And as Amanda noted, this is not strange or bizarre for Pasco County. We, of course, reported on the more than 70 depressions that opened up in Pasco County last year. And here we are again here with this now one significantly large hole here that has forced the closure, and I wanted to bring this up here, this is very important, has forced the closure of Varsity Club Sports Bar in Trinity here. So the sports bar having to close as a result of this, just because of how large this hole has grown in size too. And when you see it here from the air, it really just provides perspective as to how large this is. Of course, the road here, Spring Haven Boulevard, closed off here in Pasco County. JB Buno, Amanda Holly here with you live on WFLA Now. We're going to start to take some questions here for you folks. If you have any questions for us here on WFLA Now, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, use the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyAmanda. Amanda has done a lot of reporting in the last 18 months on depressions and how they form here in the state of Florida. So if you have any questions. You see here the pinned comment on the bottom of your screen now at the center of your screen here. Do you have any questions about the depression in Pasco County? Use hashtag HeyAmanda or hashtag HeyJB in the comment section, and we will try to answer them as best we can. One of the questions that we always get as we're live here, of course, from Eagle 8 HD in the center of your screen. One of the questions we get asked all the time is the difference between a depression and a sinkhole, and whether or not this classifies as a sinkhole. And we get into the semantics of it, but regardless of whichever way you call it, this is a very large hole that has opened up in the earth right here in the Tampa Bay area in Pasco County, Amanda. Yeah,
and like I said earlier, luckily this isn't extremely fast growing. We had that one a couple of years ago that opened up suddenly and was many, many feet deep right away. But we were also reporting earlier, too, that this is now on private property. So unfortunately, the owners of this land have to take care of this. This is not a county responsibility, and whoever owns this land has to kind of fill that hole and see where it goes from here. They have to invest their time and their money into it. I don't know if it's the varsity club bar, but they could be closed for a while if this sinkhole this depression continues to grow a little bit. They obviously it has to stabilize before they can do much with it. Otherwise, if they start dumping dirt into it, or however they're going to, however they stabilize a depression, it will could just continue to sink.
Morgan here, hashtag HeyJB. Am I seeing two other depressions here? And this is, again, we're being blocked by some of the trees here, and it's hard to tell here from the air, Amanda, as to whether or not we're seeing a cluster of depressions or if it's just all connected to the one large one here that we have. But what do we say here to Morgan?
I mean, it's a great question, Morgan, and something to think about, and hopefully the surveyors are kind of doing that, looking around to see if there are any other depressions starting to, sink or open up, because if you have one.
Look at it here. This really shows you the depth, right? I mean, and Eagle has just gotten
with those big trees. That's a big tree.
Yeah. So Eagle has now gotten a little bit lower here, and the lower that we are, the less of a bird's eye view that we have, and now you can really see how large. Look at the guy.
You can see the people. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say, Amanda. If you compare it to the size of the people, that's enormous of a hole.
How we said it grew 9 feet within the past 24 hours. That's wide, right? So then we're again thinking about how deep it is, which could be, you said up to 40 feet deep. That's 4 stories, 4 basketball hoops.
And then, yeah, Kathy Taylor, hashtag HeyAmanda. Any idea how deep it is? We have been told by officials on the ground between 40 and 50 feet deep. Look there at the pavement on the left side of your screen. See how it's kind of overhanging a portion of the depression itself? That's why the road is closed, obviously, and that speaks to the danger of the depression itself.
Yeah, it looks like the dirt continues to fall away from underneath that pavement, and then eventually that pavement starts to break away. So there is a larger depression underneath the pavement where we can't see because the pavement hasn't cracked away just yet. But again, part of the process that they are surveying, and that's where those lines are at too. I imagine that the edge of those lines may be the edge of where that sinkhole was, and then they had to make that box bigger, those orange lines.
Yeah. And again, this is an active scene here, everybody, with crews on the ground attending to this rapidly growing depression here on Springhaven Boulevard in Pasco County. Amanda, Holly there on the right side of your screen. I'm JB Buno. You see underneath our names here, the yellow stripe underneath our names on the left and right side of your screen. You see the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyAmanda. We're going to stay here with you live while we have Eagle 8 HD in the air for another 5 or so minutes, taking your questions. Are you curious about, or do you have an observation? Not even just a question, but if you have an observation here about the depression here in Pasco County that has grown by 9 feet since we last heard from Pasco County officials. Again, just use the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyAmanda, and we'll, of course, bring your comments up here on screen, such as Christopher Cole, hashtag HeyJB. Is it because of all the rain? Perfect question, of course, for Amanda.
Yeah, Christopher, you kind of read my mind there. I was actually just going to say some good news is we don't have an incredible amount of rain in the forecast over the next couple of days, so we won't see too many impacts from rain, at least to exacerbate the situation. We have seen some rain, though, the past couple of days come through. Not a whole lot, but when we do get a lot of rain and we have a saturated ground, sometimes that can start to open up sinkholes, or when we have a really dry period. and we don't have a lot of rain, that can start to open up some depressions as well. It kind of all depends. Every sinkhole, every depression is a little bit different in a scenario, but we haven't had a whole lot of rain in the past couple of days, so I don't think that the weather has had too much to do with this, and we're kind of back up to standards for rainfall for the year. We were in a dry period for a little bit, then we got a lot of rain there in August. So something to keep an eye on, though.
Linda Lewis, hashtag AJB, hashtag Amanda. Depression just sounds like hurricane-related news. Sounds like 2020 news.
Did you see that, JB? There's some rocks.
Oh, yeah, look at that there. Yeah, and Eagle, Jim Hockett, our photojournalist inside Eagle 8 HD, really zooming in here to kind of show us that some of the ground here is still giving out, Amanda. So, yeah, those are some. There you see it there on the bottom right-hand portion of your screen.
So that's the dirt that's kind of falling away underneath that pavement there, falling into the hole. We can't see what's going on at the bottom of the hole that continues to open up.
Yeah, and Jim here giving us, Jim must have seen it too, because, of course, he's kind of really honed in here on this one area. Now Eagle is starting to drift a bit, a little bit more towards, of course, the roadway here, and we can't really see now those rocks. But now we can see almost, there you see it.
Wow.
Wow. So you're looking here, everybody, from Eagle 8 HD at a live picture of this depression growing larger really here before our eyes. And the crew
all of those folks are watching it too.
Yeah, I think that they were pointing a moment ago, and they were pointing, I think, at just some of the rubble from underneath this pavement that has now started to collapse inward into the depression itself. And when Eagle was really zoomed in here, you could see just how deep really this cavern is. It's really just now a cavern underneath Spring Haven Boulevard. Again, we've been told 40 to 50 feet deep is the size of this depression.
It kind of looks like it's growing both ways, JB, too. It's not just growing, to the right or to the left. It looks like it's the whole from all sides continues to kind of sink into this depression.
Laura here asking, hashtag AJB, is Varsity Club open? The answer is no. They've been forced to close as a result of this. Varsity Club, of course, being the sports bar right near here as we're live here from Eagle 8 HD. So Lori, no, they are forced to close here as a result of the depression that has opened up here in Pasco County. Sandy asking here, how deep is that? Again, 40 to 50 feet. And then Shirley here in the comment section, hashtag JB, what are those men standing in? Yeah, well, they're standing on the property here, the private property, as Amanda noted earlier. But they are, of course, right here near the depression itself.
Is that water in the bottom of the sinkhole?
Oh, look at, yeah, there it is. Okay, all right, let's take down the comment here, everybody. Look at that. Eagle has now got the right angle to see some of the water
that's in the bottom of it. So it looks like that's pouring in from, is it pouring in from maybe a broken line?
It could. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm not either.
Ray Gibson here with a comment. Hashtag AJB. Can't they fly a drone into that hole to see how expanded the pit is? And Ray, I'm a licensed drone pilot, and I will tell you, I wouldn't fly my drone into a. Not only are you unsure of the lay of the land, so to speak, within the depression itself, Ray, but look at those falling rocks, and you're going to see it here again because we've just been seeing it every few minutes. There it is.
It's continuously growing.
Those rocks would fall directly onto the quadricopter itself, and that would be it for the drone. Yeah. The drone would take hits from those rocks and would probably go right into the water here at the bottom of the depression itself. Again, taking your questions with hashtag HeyJB, hashtag Hey Amanda, Missy.
Oh, yeah.
What road
Look at
again?
That side there. It's about to drop.
Oh, yeah, there it is. What road again? Spring Haven Boulevard. Right near the sports club there. The Varsity Club.
I mean, if your eyes aren't peeled to this, mine sure are. You can see
the
sediment there really starting to crack. It looks like that whole chunk is about to fall off here, possibly within the next.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, now here, this is actually happening as we speak.
So there's the pavement starting to break away because there's nothing holding it up anymore. And that's exactly what's happening with this sinkhole. That's how it's forming. There is a void underneath all of this sediment. And eventually the top starts to break away and fill that void. So that's what's happening. You can kind of get the picture with the pavement. Since there's nothing under the pavement's now falling. That's what's happening. And that's how the depression is being created.
So that piece of pavement there, you see with the orange painted line there on it, just collapsed. Everybody broke off almost like a cracker, right? Like just completely broke off and fell into the depression itself, and now is laying there in the depression. So moments ago that was connected to the pavement. It is no longer connected, and we still see a lot of movement here, a lot of the ground shifting here, so to speak, just as a result of the depression itself.
You can see the road cracked there too, where that second orange line is. Yep. So I imagine we'll start to see some more of this pavement continue to break off. I wonder if those lines too, you know how if you get like a spider bite, you're supposed to draw a circle around it to see if it gets any bigger. It's probably one of the ways they're surveying this area. Looks like the right side of the depression at this point from Eagle 8. I see growing a little bit faster.
I see a comment here from Lewis saying "Hey Amanda, it's like watching paint dry." I actually think it's the exact opposite. I don't think that this is boring at all.
Right.
A lot of times we'll have Eagle 8 HD coverage of like the depressions last year, and we will of course
very slow.
Very slow. This one,
we're actually before our eyes,
shifting in front of us in real time. So to Lewis's comment, I actually think that this is fascinating because we're watching this grow. When they say it's been growing by the minute or by the hour, they're not exaggerating. I mean, this is a sinkhole, or excuse me, a depression rather, that has grown and grown and grown now 9 feet wider in the last 24 hours or since the last check by Pasco County authorities. And we're seeing why. We're seeing the evidence literally in front of us here on Eagle 8 HD. You can look down there, you see some of the ripples of the water, the surface of the water, and you can get an idea as to just how deep this is.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the water is exactly, if that is the water table, or if that's part of the aquifer, or if that water is draining in from a broken pipe or something like that. But those the surveyor is probably going to have to expand that fence a little bit with how fast this is growing.
And there you see the structure itself, the building. The
building.
Right there, in a very, very compromised situation here. Omar, #AJB, any idea what the cause was, Amanda?
Well, that's something that they'll probably, have to continue to do their research on. I talked about earlier, they'll do some ground penetrating radar to see if the sinkhole is opened up wider underneath some of this pavement and the ground that's still intact. But it's hard to determine what causes sinkholes and depressions, especially as they're happening.
Yeah, and as a reminder, you might be wherever you're watching from here on WFLA Now, JB and Amanda here with you. You might be wondering, could a depression form anywhere in Pasco County, such as underneath a house? And the answer is pretty much yeah. We of course had the story last year, the more than 70 depressions, many of them in a residential neighborhood, and there were homes that had to close and people that had to leave their homes as a result of the depression. Really, the ground underneath the foundation of their home being unstable to the point where it was dangerous for them to be living in the home at the time. So, could a depression form underneath the structure, underneath the building? Could it form underneath somebody's home? Absolutely. Here we have one, again, in a particularly dangerous spot underneath a roadway. Now, this Springhaven Boulevard isn't that well-traveled of a roadway, but could this open up under a major roadway causing problems? I mean, Amanda, Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature is going to do, and that's why we've had so many depressions open up over the last 18 months here in Pasco County. Yeah,
unfortunately, the terrain of Florida here along and north of I-4, Florida is a karst terrain, which means it's pretty brittle. When we have rain falling from the sky, it travels through the ground, it permeates, and then it kind of breaks down and becomes a little bit acidic, and that's what starts to break down the karst. It literally dissolves the karst, and you start to form these waterways. That's what our Florida aquifer is. That's where we get our drinking water from. There's a lot of cave systems up in North Florida, but Pasco County in particular has quite a few as well, and they are prone to these depressions. They are prone to sinkholes, and that's what we're kind of seeing with this one. We saw it last year with those 76 depressions, and I imagine we'll see more, as the years to come. It's just kind of the way it is, and here in Florida, it's the chance you take. Unfortunately, to live in paradise here, we built on this karst terrain, and we've got holes, we've got voids in the ground underneath our feet.
I want to get back to some of the comments that are coming in. As a reminder, we're taking questions and comments, or just observations, really. If you're commenting about what we're seeing here, this is pretty wild that we're seeing this happen in real time, this depression growing larger in Pasco County. Use the hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyAmanda. We'll start to throw up, we've missed a lot of these comments that have started to come in, and we'll start to throw up some more here and try to, maybe Amanda will try to do this as rapid fire as we can here. Ellen, hashtag HJB, thanks for your coverage. I went an alternate route home yesterday. Little Road is the main road that Varsity Club sits on. Is little area affected? I think is so I want to bring up a map here, and I want to make sure that I have the area. So Little Road, okay, so Little Road is, of course, the roadway here on the top of your screen here, everybody, that Ellen is talking about. And you can see here that that the lanes of Little Road are still open. It is just Spring Haven Boulevard, as we understand, Ellen, that is closed. So I think that if this continues to grow, we could see some lanes begin to close of Little Road, but not necessarily a full-on closure, at least at this time. So Ellen,
seems like the officials there seem to think that Varsity Road is okay at this point. They may, again, like JB just said, make that decision to close that if this continues to grow. But of course, we'll report that if that happens.
Let's see here. Lori, hashtag HAB. What's the status of all the homeowners that live back there? I don't think there's another way in and out of that community. That's a really great question. And I have not been told. Melanie Michael is following the story and is moments away from giving a live report, Lori, on WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC station. She's actually been speaking to some folks here in this area about questions exactly like that one. And we anticipate that she's going to have more in her live report here coming up, again, in just like 90 or so seconds on WFLA News Channel 8. That's your NBC station right here in the Tampa Bay area. Connie Tootle, hashtag AJB. We talked about this earlier, hashtag AJB. This is why they once called it Seven Springs. This is an area that has a lot of waterways, Amanda, here in Pasco County.
Yeah, Seven Springs. We've got a lot of springs here in Florida because of, again, the same exact reason. They connect to the aquifer, and it's kind of where these depressions open up in a weakness in the ground. There's a void underneath the surface. And yes, as Melinda says there, hashtag HeyJB, pretty scary. Thank goodness it's not a home we're watching. At this point, yes, it is not a home. It is just a roadway, but probably pretty scary for the owners of Varsity Club.
Ray Gibson here with this comment talking about, remember we were seeing the water inside the depression earlier. Ray saying, hashtag Amanda,
yes,
that water looks like it is actively moving.
I'm curious about the water too, Ray. I'm curious to know if it's the water table. I'm curious to know if it's water flowing in from a broken pipe or if there's water filling up from the bottom. Not really sure at this point. This isn't extremely far away from the coast, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is kind of the water table there, but just not sure.
Scott here, hashtag AJB. How do they fix something like this? It's a really great question. And I can sort of semi-answer this by just saying that I don't believe that they can begin fixing it until, well, it's growing. How do you fix a depression, or how do you start to restore this area here of this property and of this area of Spring Haven Boulevard with a depression that is still forming as we speak? I would imagine, Amanda, and I'm not entirely sure as to the procedural way to go about this, but you would have to wait for there to be some stability. That's not really the best word to use to describe a depression, but or some consistency with the rate of growth before that they can actually start to address the issue itself. It
would be hard to track for sure after, if they were to start to fill it with whatever method they are going to fix this with. It would be hard to track if they were to fill it and then it would continue to grow. It would be hard to track those changes to see if it was continuing to grow out wider or to grow deeper. So I would imagine, like JB said, there's got to be some sort of consistency or at least stabilization of the depression before they can fill it.
And you see there, Eagle 8 HD heading back to home base. A long day for Eagle. A lot of news going on here in the Tampa Bay area, folks. We have to wrap up here. We are now in First at 4, your 4 o'clock newscast on WFLA News Channel 8. We've had a lot go on today here in the Tampa Bay area. Take your remote controls, flip over to WFLA News Channel 8. Again, your NBC station, 8 on your side here in Tampa Bay, where our team coverage of all the stories that we've had, of course, across WFLA now, will be brought to you here live on WFLA on TV. For Amanda Holly, I'm JB Buno. Thanks so much for being with us, and you can read more on this story about the depressions in Pasco County on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Thanks so much for being with us.